The clip is barely a minute long, but the tension in that room is thick enough to choke on. Angel McCoughtry, two-time Olympic gold medalist, WNBA legend, a voice that commands respect across generations of basketball, leans into the microphone and delivers a message so pointed it might as well have been a dagger. She doesn't say the words out loud. She doesn't have to. But the meaning lands with the force of a punch. Caitlyn Clark needs to shut up and play. Not in those exact words, of course. McCoughtry is too polished for that. She dresses it up in the language of legacy, national pride, and the sacred honor of wearing USA across your chest. She tells a story about Gino Auriemma, about the old days when women didn't get Wheaties boxes, about playing with dignity when nobody was watching. It sounds like wisdom. It sounds like mentorship. But watch closely. Watch the way she singles out the one player in that gym who just dragged women's basketball into a new era. Watch the way she lectures the rookie who shattered every record about humility. This isn't a veteran passing down knowledge. This is a veteran drawing a line in the sand, and the entire basketball world is about to find out which side they're standing on. McCoughtry starts her critique with an admission that most people might miss if they aren't listening closely. She admits she used to crash out on referees all the time during her playing career. She knows exactly what it feels like to have the adrenaline pumping, to feel a bad call tilt a game, to want to let the official know they got it wrong. She's been there. She's done it. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. And yet, instead of extending the grace she probably would have wanted in that moment, she pivots hard into a story designed to humble. She brings up Gino Auriemma, the legendary UConn coach who shaped so much of women's basketball history. According to McCoughtry, Gino sat the team down and delivered a reality check that was equal parts motivation and warning. He told them they were going to go win gold for their country, which should have been enough. But then he added the part that stung. They weren't going to get the endorsements. They weren't going to be on the Wheaties box. They weren't going to have the marketing opportunities that male athletes took for granted. So, his message was simple. Play for the love of the game. Play for the flag. And whatever you do, don't bring the complaining over here. Don't bring the WNBA mentality into USA basketball. McCoughtry uses this story to build her case against Caitlyn Clark. The implication is clear. Clark is out there arguing with referees, caught up in the drama, forgetting that she's representing something bigger than herself. In McCoughtry's telling, the old guard understood the assignment. They zipped their lips. They swallowed their pride. They accepted the bad calls because the honor of wearing the jersey was supposed to be enough. And now, here comes this rookie, this newcomer to the national team scene, acting like she doesn't understand the weight of the moment. It's a powerful framing, wrapped in nostalgia and patriotism. But it's built on a foundation that crumbles the second you look at it too closely. Here's where McCoughtry's entire argument starts to unravel. The story she tells about Gino Auriemma is rooted in a specific historical reality. When she was coming up, women's basketball didn't have the commercial footprint it has today. Endorsements were scarce. Mainstream attention was fleeting. Players genuinely did have to play for the love of the game because the financial rewards simply weren't there yet. That was real. That was the world she navigated. But that world doesn't exist anymore. And pretending it does is either willful ignorance or deliberate manipulation. Caitlyn Clark already has the endorsements. She already has the Wheaties box. She has a Nike signature shoe in development. She has State Farm commercials airing during prime time. She has a Gatorade partnership. She is, by any measurable metric, the most marketed player in WNBA history. And she achieved all of that before she ever played a single minute of professional basketball. So when McCoughtry stands on a podcast and lectures Clark about how she shouldn't complain because she might lose out on opportunities, she's speaking from a reality that no longer applies. The entire premise of the lecture is that players should be grateful and quiet and wait their turn. But Clark's turn is already here. She didn't wait, she earned. And that's what makes the critique feel less like wisdom and more like resentment. McCoughtry is essentially telling a player who has already broken the ceiling to act like it hasn't been broken. She's asking Clark to suppress the very fire that made her the most compelling athlete in the sport. And for what? To preserve some imagined standard of decorum that male athletes have never been asked to uphold? The logic doesn't hold, and the more you examine it, the more it starts to look like something else entirely. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture here. In that same USA basketball scrimmage, in that same tournament, dozens of players had heated exchanges with referees. Paige Buchers, who is widely considered one of the most composed players in the sport, argued calls. Kelsey Plum got animated. Aja Wilson, the reigning MVP, had her moments of frustration. But when we scroll through the commentary, when we scan the podcast clips and the think pieces, there's a glaring omission. Nobody is making segments about how Paige needs to be quiet. Nobody is lecturing Aja about representing the country with more dignity. The critique is laser-focused on one player, and pretending that's a coincidence requires ignoring everything we know about how sports media operates. Now compare this to how we treat male athletes in the exact same context. LeBron James screams at referees with a frequency and intensity that would make any WNBA player look reserved. He's done it for 2 decades while wearing USA across his chest. Nobody has ever suggested he needs to zip it and have some pride. Steph Curry has been ejected for throwing his mouthpiece in frustration. Kevin Durant has been caught on camera cursing out officials more times than anyone can count. Draymond Green has made arguing with referees an art form, and yet the conversation around them is never about whether they're worthy of representing their country. It's about their passion. It's about their competitive fire. It's about how much they care. So why is the standard different for Caitlyn Clark? Why is the same behavior that earns male athletes praise being used as evidence that a female athlete is difficult, ungrateful, or lacking perspective? The answer is uncomfortable, but it's necessary. There's a long history in women's sports of policing emotional expression, of demanding that female athletes be more polite, more composed, more compliant than their male counterparts. And when the most visible player in the league dares to break that mold, the backlash isn't just criticism, it's enforcement. Perhaps the most revealing moment in McCoughtry's entire segment comes when she tries to create distance between her behavior and Clark's. She acknowledges that she talked to referees too during her playing career. She admits she had conversations with officials. But then, she insists it was a different kind of talk. Let's really sit with that logic for a minute because it's doing a lot of heavy lifting. What exactly does a different kind of talk mean? Was she whispering? Was she smiling while she did it? Was she politely asking for clarification while Clark was supposedly demanding justice? The problem with this distinction is that it's entirely subjective and completely unverifiable. McCoughtry gets to define her own behavior as acceptable while defining Clark's behavior as problematic, based on nothing more than her own authority to make that judgment. It's the ultimate get-out-of-jail-free card for anyone who wants to criticize without being hypocritical. You can admit you did the thing, claim you did it better, and then use that claim to justify why the other person shouldn't be allowed to do it at all. This kind of logic wouldn't hold up in any other context. Imagine a referee saying they only make good calls while another referee makes bad ones. Imagine a coach saying their technical fouls were justified while another coach's were unprofessional. The standard has to be consistent, or it's not a standard at all. Either arguing with officials is acceptable behavior for players representing their country, or it isn't. You don't get to police the tone, the volume, or the perceived attitude of the person doing it unless you're willing to acknowledge that you're making a subjective judgment based on who the person is, not what they did. And that's the heart of it. McCoughtry isn't really mad about the argument. She's mad about who was doing the arguing. She's uncomfortable with a rookie, with a player who just arrived, acting with the same confidence and fire that veterans earned over years. But competitive fire doesn't have a waiting period. You either have it or you don't. And Clark has it. Now watch what happens immediately after McCoughtry delivers her critique. The co-host, who moments earlier was talking about how much he loves when players crash out, how he loves Marina Mabrey's intensity, how he loves Alicia Clark's fire, suddenly shifts his tone completely. He starts validating McCoughtry's perspective. He calls it valid specifically because she's a two-time Olympic gold medalist. He frames her argument as coming from a place of experience and wisdom that he, as someone who never played at that level, can't fully understand. And just like that, the conversation pivots. The critique goes from being debatable to being authoritative, not because the logic improved, but because the credentials were invoked. This is a pattern we've seen throughout Caitlyn Clark's rookie season. Whenever a veteran criticizes her, there's an automatic deference to their experience. People stop evaluating the argument and start evaluating the speaker. Sheryl Swoopes spent months making claims about Clark that were factually incorrect, claiming she played 5 years of college ball when she only played 4, downplaying her scoring record, questioning whether she deserved the attention. And for a while, people gave those takes credibility because Swoopes is a legend. The credentials shielded the argument from scrutiny until the facts became so obviously contradictory that the whole thing collapsed. The same thing is happening here. McCoughtry has the medals, she has the history, she has the respect of the basketball community, and she's using that credibility to push a critique that doesn't hold up to logical examination. But because she's Angel McCoughtry, people are hesitant to push back. They don't want to seem disrespectful. They don't want to be seen as questioning a legend. So the flawed argument gets treated as valid simply because of who delivered it. But credentials don't make you right. Experience doesn't make your arguments bulletproof. The only thing that matters is whether the critique is fair, whether it's consistent, and whether it's applied equally to everyone. And by that measure, McCoughtry's argument fails. It's not fair to single out Clark for behavior that dozens of other players exhibited. It's not consistent to admit you did the same thing, but claim it was different. And it's not applied equally when nobody is demanding the same standard from anyone else. This moment with Angel McCoughtry doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a pattern that has been building throughout Caitlyn Clark's entire professional career. Every time she achieves something historic, there's a contingent of voices ready to remind her and everyone watching that she hasn't earned it yet. Every time she breaks a record, there's someone ready to explain why the record doesn't really count. Every time she brings millions of new eyes to the league, there's someone ready to lecture her about how she should behave. Think about what Clark has actually accomplished. She led the Indiana Fever to their first playoff appearance in years. She shattered rookie scoring records. She brought television ratings that the WNBA had never seen before. She sold out arenas across the country. She made women's basketball appointment viewing for millions of people who had never watched a game before. By any objective measure, her rookie season was one of the most impactful in the history of American sports, not just women's basketball. And yet, the conversation surrounding her is constantly being steered toward what she's doing wrong. She argues too much. She complains too loudly. She doesn't respect the legacy of those who came before. She needs to be more grateful. She needs to be quieter. It's a relentless drumbeat of criticism disguised as mentorship, and it's coming from people who should know better. This isn't how you build a league. This isn't how you grow a sport. You don't take your biggest star, the player who has done more to expand your audience than anyone in decades, and spend your energy telling her to be smaller. You don't take the athlete who made women's basketball relevant to a mainstream audience and treat her like she's a problem to be managed rather than an asset to be celebrated. There's a word for what's happening here, and it's resentment. It's the uncomfortable reality of watching someone achieve in 2 years what took others 2 decades. And if the league doesn't recognize it for what it is, it's going to find itself alienating the very fans Clark brought through the door. You can't build a sustainable league on the resentment of your most popular player. You can't grow the game by telling your biggest star to be quieter, smaller, more grateful. The WNBA fought for decades to be taken seriously. to get mainstream attention, to have players who could be household names. Now that it's finally happening, now that the ratings are up, the arenas are full, and the conversation is everywhere. Some voices seem more interested in policing how it happened than celebrating that it happened at all. That's not a path forward. That's how you kill momentum. That's how you alienate the new fans who showed up because they wanted to see something real. Caitlyn Clark is going to keep being herself. She's going to keep competing with intensity. She's going to keep reacting authentically to what happens on the court. And the league is going to have to decide whether it wants to embrace that fire or keep trying to extinguish it. The fans have already made their choice. They want the passion. They want the player who cares so much she can't help but react. That's not a problem to fix. That's the whole reason she's special. And anyone who can't see that isn't just missing the point, they're missing the future. Stay locked in with my channel Simply Explained, your home for the truth behind the WNBA headlines.